What's up, my know-it-alls? It's right, it's Mr. Know-it-all, and you have reached the Mr. Know-it-all channel. Now, specifically, I want to have a conversation with you. So, before this gets too far, I want everybody to know you can go right down to the description, and you're going to see some time code links. Feel free to skip ahead to something else that maybe does interest you. But overall, this is a different kind of video. It isn't specifically about one show or another. It's going to be about Star Trek in general, mainly because I realize that as my channel grows and as people begin to kind of learn who Mr. Know-it-all is, I want to make sure that it's clear the kind of Star Trek fan that I am. So I've been a Star Trek fan since 1992. In 1992, I was 13 years old, and I was going through the mall in my town, and I saw some folks in colorful outfits. And specifically, they were in TNG outfits. A couple were wearing the onesie, and others were wearing the two-piece, the season 3 and on two-piece. And so I remember I was with my mom, and we stopped, and they had a television, big blocky job with a VHS built in, and they put later on we would evolve to DVD players built into the television. Anyway, they were so fun to be like, what is this? And they began to tell me, and I was still very young in terms of my own creative mind, what I wanted to do with myself. At the time, I wanted to be a comic book artist when I was younger. I'm an illustrator, hence Mr. Know-it-all, the one you guys have seen. What's up, buddy? And so I got into the club and got into understand. So one of the things we had was our captain. He had a friend of his who lived on an island just off the coast of where I'm from, and they would get the satellite feed for the local network, and it would always include several different things, but one of them included was Star Trek. Later on, it'd be Star Trek: Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. I don't think we ever got Voyager early. I might be wrong. Anyway. So he would go to his friend's house on the weekend, and he would intercept the feed. And it was this really funny feed, because it would during the commercial breaks they would do sound, because it wasn't the real show. It was the real show, but it was the show that was being sent to the television station. So it had holes where commercials were supposed to be. Once in a while it might have a national commercial baked in, but overall, as soon as it went to black for the commercial, it would go to black. Then you would see test bars, and it would say, if you see this, then you need to press the commercial, play the commercials or whatever, or local avails or something along those lines. But in the very beginning, before the show would start, it would tell you the show, the program will commence and whatever, and they had all the voice actors do it. Rene Auberjonois did one. Michael Dorn did one. I remember very clearly Brent Spiner. All of them. I think everybody did one. And it was essentially your program feed is about to begin. Here's your test. This is the right channel. This is the left channel, center, and surround. The one I remember the most distinctly was Michael Dorn did one, and it was like, this is the left channel. This is the right channel, center, and surround. Don't screw it up. It was so great. It was a lot of fun. It was fun. Anyway, so you'd go to the club, and on Saturdays, Saturday, I believe Saturday, Sunday. I think later on they switched to Sundays, and we switched to Sundays too, whatever. But what you would do is we would watch the previous week's episode, like everybody else, and then we'd watch next week's episode a week early. It was awesome when there was two-parters and things like that, but overall, just one of those really happy memories that I remember really enjoying. We had a convention circuit in our area called Volcon, which was it was a lot of fun. Good folks. We would represent every now and again. Starfleet would ask us to. We were a super active club back in the day, and so Starfleet would ask us in our area to go ahead and represent Starfleet, and they would put a booth. We'd get a table, and they would say that if it was a 6-foot table, we could have the last 2 feet for ourselves. So it was 4 feet of all Starfleet stuff: their brochures, their books, their little communiques, because they had the communique, and then we would have our club's newsletter and whatnot, and our little invites and stuff, even though the conventions most of the time were like an hour or two away from where we were. But either way, it just let people know again more about Starfleet and about who we were. So, but overall, I remember when I first got into watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, they were hip deep into whatever season was happening in '93. And I don't want to get past this. I want to get the story out. And we would watch them, and I would be really enamored, not only by the colors and the characters and whatnot. 13 years old, I'm watching, there was storytelling. I mean, it was good storytelling too. And you started, not to mention the fact that just from a diversity standpoint, I always identified with Jordy because obviously I wear glasses. And so I always felt like somebody who wore something. You like that? Somebody who wore a thing on his eye, I thought that was awesome. I really did. And that's actually true. I did identify a lot with him for that reason. Plus, being able to cosplay as Jordy was always awesome. But then later on, I really got into Worf. I liked the Klingons. I liked what the Klingons were about. I never joined one of the Klingon fan clubs, though I probably could have. I think I got invited several times. My persona on the Star Quest was I was a Klingon engineer, which always got made fun of about that. But because they were like, aren't you supposed to be warriors and fighters? I'm like, well, how do you think we're warrior and fightering our way through space? Just luck and a prayer? Shoestring? Dental floss? Bubblegum? Come on. And so the name that I gave myself was, that I took on was Machbar. Spelled like so. Okay? That's what I was. Started out as lieutenant junior grade in the engineering department division. We had a chief engineer. His name was Frank Fasulo, God rest him. And it was fun, man. We had a good time. We'd get together. So I had to learn the manual. So there's this beige. I'm sorry, the lines are beige. It was actually maroon. Next generation manual for the Galaxy class starship and all the other good stuff and whatnot. You've all seen it. And I remember I went through and I actually learned a lot. I've long since forgotten, please. But I had to learn so many things. And then I had to do, so our captain, Jeff, Captain Hanshaw, he would have us, each department, we would do drills and simulations, role-playing. We would role-play. And we actually did at one point get the Star Trek The Next Generation role-playing game, that one mystery one. It was supposed to be like a murder mystery, and it had pre-recorded voices of all the cast and stuff. Anyway, very cool. So Star Trek's been in my DNA. So now you come to this area where people fail to realize that I started doing this little exercise, and I might make one. I may do one. I'll probably do it. Matter of fact, I'll probably do it on either our TikTok or Reels or one of those other ones because it's going to be a vertical format. But what we would do is if you go back right now and you do this little thought experiment, watch Encounter at Farpoint and The Naked Now. You watch, that's episodes 1 and 2 of The Next Generation. Watch them with the same eyes you have today. So some of the things that I noticed was, today people would be like, oh, so you couldn't come up with your own original theme song? You had to steal the one from the motion picture? What's wrong with you people? Okay, that kind of stuff. And so I realized more and more that I'm not that kind of Star Trek fan. I take Star Trek, I play the ball where it lies. Do I, at 43 compared to 13, do I feel differently today than I did back then? I will say yes. Is there a geopolitical thread that runs through a lot of this? Probably, yeah. I think having a family and whatnot and different things like that makes a lot of difference. The escapism is there, but at the same time, I'm very much a romantic in that I want to see the stories. So, what am I talking about? Because it seems like I'm babbling at this point. I guess what I'm trying to say is, so when I watched, and I'm going to do a separate video for Picard Season 1. It's going to be one video. It's going to encompass the entire series of Picard Season 1. And one of the things that I realized was, it's very difficult sometimes to look at something you love and see someone mess it up, or what you think is messing it up. Now, let me give you a good example. A good example is Independence Day, ID4. Arguably, though flawed, a perfect movie for its time. It's a 90s action-adventure sci-fi movie. It's got big spectacle, but the story's easy to understand. Are there some trope-like storytelling bits? Of course there are. But at the same time, The movie tells a completed story. Then you get this abomination that was the last one, the Resurgence or whatever. I don't remember, whatever it was. Independence Day, going back to the well. Which, again, I know I'm going to sound hypocritical in a lot of ways, but at the same time, hey, man, opinions are opinions. We all got them, okay? And so that, to me, is bad in terms of sequelizing something. All I've ever wanted was to continue the story forward. That's all I wanted. And we finally got that. And I'm very thankful for that. And I know Discovery was going to do it, but at the same time, I wanted to move forward in my timeline, which for me was the Next Generation. Yes, I retroactively went back. I own, my dad actually owns all of the Columbia House VHS tapes of the Star Trek original series. I own digitally the remastered ones through Amazon and whatnot. And I feel like those shows, so the original series obviously doesn't hold up special effects wise. There's a bunch of fan-made ones online that are of the same caliber, if not just if not better because of camera and whatnot, and visual effects and all that good stuff. But I liked it for what it was. It was social commentary. It was science fiction. I enjoyed the heck out of it. Was it flawless and without sin? Come on, let's be real, okay? Shatner's acting was always over the top, and frankly, if it wasn't for the fact that he was given the music helped support a lot of his things, Shatner was a terrible actor, period. I don't care. I'm sorry. He's a terrible actor. Do I love Captain Kirk and the Captain Kirk who? Of course, because it's there. But at the same time, let's be real for a minute. Leonard Nimoy acted circles around him. Frankly, I think that I'm about to say Macaulay Culkin. Sorry. I think DeForest Kelly came in from doing Westerns. I think he did fine. I think he was doing a great job. And he a little over the top sometimes, but I really think he took to that whole love-hate relationship between him and Spock. I think later on you lumped the three of them together as a lump sum, so you get Kirk, Spock, and McCoy together as a threesome in terms of like they're always synonymous with one another. Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, always. You really don't have one without the other. It's the thing that made Star Trek 6, I'm sorry, not Star Trek 6, forgive me, Star Trek Generations, when they didn't get any of those guys to come back. And I know that they didn't want to come back. I know the whole story. But at the same time, it's like, bro, you back up a Brinks truck. You get those three together. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like Undiscovered Country is my send-off for the original guys. And we'll get into that next in a minute. But and I feel like that's the important part of that whole thing. So, when you go to, and again, everybody was doing whatever they were doing, bad accents, the whole 9 yards, but the original series was so monumental for what it did. That's one of the things I will say when it comes to folks who want to talk trash about current, or not trash, but who want to try to raise up current Star Trek, by poo-pooing previous Star Trek. That to me is childish. And I feel like at the end of the day, you cannot say with any amount of honesty that new Star Trek is breaking ground that old Trek never did. Look, man, Star Trek has always been able to do what the Zeitgeist or what societal norms and censors and all that would let it do. Okay, everything from the first interracial kiss to race issues and social commentary and they constantly address those things. And so to say that they didn't is foolish. Then you go to Next Generation, and the Next Generation, you had this whole new cast who, if you watch the first, I guess really the first two seasons getting up to the third, because the third season of Next Generation is kind of when everything sort of shifted, and it wasn't a bad shift. So episode 3 or 4, I think it's episode 4. Yeah, that's right. The episode with the Traveler, in my opinion, that was an amazing Next Generation story. It wasn't trying to ingratiate itself to past fans. It was stood on its own, and it became its own thing. People who, if you want old school storytelling. Fine. The Orville's doing an amazing job giving you that old style, episodic style. I can't wait to see what Star Trek Strange New Worlds is going to do, only because they're saying that's going to be episodic the way we're used to. And so I would love to see how this style of filming and filmmaking translates to that. I think we're going to get a lot of very entertaining, I think we're going to get a lot of entertaining shows. I really do. But, yeah, man, so that's just a little bit of what's going on in my head. This is, again, kind of random, a little off the wall, but I wanted to just talk Star Trek with my friends. You guys are my friends, you know? You're my shipmates. We're all one big fleet, man. I don't care if you're Ferengi, Cardassian, Klingon, whatever your flavor is, whether you're old Trek, new Trek, Trekker, a Trekkie, all the good stuff, whether you're Klingon clubs only or whatever else you want to be. At the end of the day, we're all fans of the same thing, which is Gene Roddenberry's vision. And there are a lot of people who want to try to make that vision line up and jibe up with today. But you have to remember, it was never intended for today. As in, it was always supposed to be our vision. It was always supposed to be a vision of the future. A future that was free of greed, that was free of self-judgment. Specifically, a lot of the old instructions from Gene Rod. If you want to play the game, the Star Trek game, be faithful to something. But where I feel like people get hung up is they pretend that whatever Star Trek is supposed to be, it's never supposed to change. And I don't think that's correct. I think anybody who says that Star Trek should always stay the same doesn't understand the nature of what Star Trek really was. Star Trek was designed to show us hope. Well, right now, in today's culture, hope looks different. It's a very different viewpoint because we have different issues, different ailments. Some things are more extreme than they were back when the show first started in the 60s. Other things have changed and revised themselves from when the show was around in the 90s, and all the various iterations. Heck, you even got Deep Space Nine that literally broke the entire mold and went from episodic to these long, arcing story threads and beats, which eventually gave birth to Battlestar Galactica. Any of you who know the history of Star Trek, you know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, that's about all I got for today. I mean, there you go. Now you know. And if knowing is half the battle, then my friends, you are halfway to being the know-it-all. I know you can be. Remember, one of the things that we know is what we know. But you don't know what you don't know. So let's approach everything. If you can digest things and process information so that you're not meet Star Trek where it is right now. Meet it where it is. The old shows aren't going anywhere. I can still go right into Amazon right now, look up all my original OG, the original series, digital remastered stuff. It's literally available everywhere under the sun, Paramount Plus and everything else. But at the same time, I've got my point is, I will always, forever and ever have that. Those of you who have physical media, you're always going to have that. I just got finished with doing a complete rewatch marathon of the movies. I'm at the end of season 2 for Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm doing a rewatch, and I'm doing a rewatch in chronological order in terms of watching I'm going to watch Next Generation, and when Deep Space Nine was supposed to start, I'm watch that, and when Voyager started, I'm going to watch that, and I'm going to go through. Yes, I will probably even go to Enterprise. Anyway, but what was there is not gone. I'm enjoying watching it, and you should too. So, all right, guys, we'll talk again. I intend to do another Trek Tuesday video specifically about Picard Season 1. So hopefully you'll stick around for that. Give me a like if you appreciate anything I had to say, or if you just want to contribute to the conversation. Hey, man, drop a comment down below. Click the subscribe button. Click that little bell icon to be notified when new content drops. I tell you what, Know It All Nation is growing, and I am so happy and excited to be serving aboard the USS Know-It-All with each and every one of you. So by all means, guys, stick around here for all the Star Trek information and news you could possibly want. I'm going to do my best to be bringing you some really good things, but also I'm about celebrating our fandom. So while there may be things I don't like, and I may tell you some things I may give my opinions, at the end of the day, I'm in it to enjoy this with you. I don't care about who says what about what, or what holes or this and that. I may very well go in and dig into the comments and go through some of those threads of like, here's what about these questions? Because there's answers to all of these questions. So we'll talk soon, guys. All right, I'll talk to you later. Never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all.